Hello, Broncos country, and welcome to week 3 of Orange Weekly After Dark. My name is Jason. I'll be with you again tonight. Start posting your comments, questions, anything that you would like to talk about in those comments, and we will start rolling through those tonight. I'm glad to have you with us. Hey, another Victory Monday. That's 3 in a row to start the season. I don't know off the top of my head the last time the Broncos went 3-0 to start. But hey, it's been a while and it's a good feeling. So we will enjoy it as we can for sure. Lots to talk about tonight. We will once again, as we have the past few weeks, start off with the bad news, which I'm sure most of you have seen. KJ Hamler has been ruled out for the remainder of the season with officially diagnosed torn ACL. In that knee that took that very awkward twist during his landing, trying to catch a ball. Initial reports were very hopeful that would only be a couple weeks. I'm sure at the time they were hoping that it would be an isolated LCL incident. That way, the way the knee torqued to the side there. However, the MRI did show an ACL tear. And so obviously that means he's done for the year, which is another big injury blow to this team that's already been dealing with injuries early on this season. We're now 3 weeks in and have been dealt with multiple bad news injuries. And, Josie Jewell, Chubb, Hamler now, good ones are, Jerry Jeudy should hopefully be back in a few weeks. But, Josie Jewell and now Hamler out for the year. It's going to be tough to replace. So we'll see what happens. We did hear that the Broncos did sign a wide receiver today to replace Hamler. They did sign former Seahawks wide receiver David Moore, was currently on the Raiders practice squad. We signed them from the Raiders practice squad. Last year, he had 35 catches for 417 yards and 6 touchdowns. Again, that was with the Seahawks. Career-wise, he has 78 catches for a little more than 1,100 yards and 13 touchdowns in the past 3 years. So we'll see how the Broncos utilize him. I don't know a ton about him myself yet. I need to do some research. But from what I hear, he's a fast wide receiver, that type of wide receiver that Hamler was, where he can blow off the top, spread coverage out. And so I'm sure once the Broncos bring him up to speed in the playbook, which I'm sure will be a relatively quick process. I'm sure they'll want him in before this upcoming game against the Ravens. So we'll see how he does, but expect him to be that fast receiver that just kind of runs, blow that top off and opens up some of our other receivers, such as Tim Patrick Sutton. So we'll see. It's going to be tough to replace Hamler for sure, especially, him and Teddy Bridgewater were forming quite the bond. Teddy Bridgewater had even talked to the equipment managers at some point in preseason and had them move Hamler's locker to be right next to him. And so that chemistry takes time to form that bond. And so, you could see right away that Bridgewater, felt awful when they showed his reaction that Hamler was down. And so it's tough to replace that chemistry, especially on short notice. But you know what? Broncos are going to have to make do. It's part of the NFL. It's part of football. You have to deal with injuries. No team is without injuries at any given point in any given year. And so it's hit the Broncos hard early on, for sure. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. But, as cliche as it is, next man up mentality, and that's what they're going to have to do. Other injury front, Glasgow missed the end of the game, as well as Dalton Reisner with a knee and foot injury, respectively. So we'll see how that plays out. It looked, from what I could see, Glasgow looked like a possible MCL sprain mechanism. His knee kind of got rolled up on. I did not really see what happened to Reisner. I know it's a foot injury, so we'll see how those two play out as well heading into this next week. So overall, though, impressions, it was a solid game overall from what I saw. I think it was a much better performance than the week 2, where I was fairly critical of the Broncos' overall effort against the Jags. I think that they actually played a very solid game against the Jets, with the exception of the two, I guess, quote unquote worst categories of the game, which even wasn't terrible. One, red zone play. Broncos continue to have some struggles with the red zone. We had one situation we were, goal to go, and couldn't quite get it into the end zone, had to settle for a field goal. And another one where we were again goal to goal and fumbled it on about the 2-yard line. And so got 0 points out of that one. So something to look out for. That's been one of the issues that the Broncos have dealt with for the past few years. And so we'll see if they're able to continue to work on that and continue to find ways to punch it into the end zone. The other one, it's going to be a constant question mark. It was better this week for sure, but special teams. The Jets did partially block a punt this past week. Fortunately, it was more of a partial block, more of a deflection. So it wasn't a full block, fortunately, but something else to look out for. Special teams has been an issue for a while now, and hopefully we continue to get better because we're coming to a pretty tough stretch in the schedule here, starting with the Ravens, and those are the type of things we got to make sure we shore up again that red zone. Got to find a way to get those touchdowns and stop settling for field goals. And special teams, that could be the difference maker there, So, Shane, thanks for joining us tonight. How are we feeling 2 weeks in a row? We do our job and the Chiefs lose. Yeah, that's it. The AFC West is shaking out to be pretty interesting early on. Broncos, like you said, are tied for first 3-0, alongside the Raiders. And then you have the Chargers, who are 2-1. Followed by the last place team, the Kansas City Chiefs at 1-2. Pretty sure that's exactly how we all drew it up heading into the season, having the Broncos and Raiders tied for first and Chiefs in last place. Obviously, going back to your question, you got to feel good about it. Being 3-0 is exactly where the Broncos are supposed to be this week. And they are, that's going to be one of the big question marks heading to this Ravens game that people are already kind of talking about. Is this Denver team real, or have they just benefited from playing 3 very weak teams? I don't see why it can't be both, to be honest with you. Yeah, the Broncos schedule has been very light so far. All 3 teams the Broncos have played and beat, none of them have a win on the season so far. All 3 teams that the Broncos have played are now 0-3 on the season. So, yeah, there's obviously a bit of a benefit to that. However, I would argue that good teams beat bad teams. I don't think at any point, maybe a bit with the Giants game, but really at no point were the Broncos not in control, even, week 2, where, again, I thought the Broncos had a very, very mediocre game. They still, handily beat the Jags. And so that's what good teams do. They beat teams they're supposed to beat. And so here we are, 3-0, exactly where we should be, with a very good test, a very good opportunity to see where exactly this Broncos team is. The Ravens did beat the Chiefs in a showdown a couple weeks ago. Lamar Jackson is a true dual threat quarterback. And so we're going to have to, I'm curious how our defense handles that, especially without Jewel to help out with all of that. However, Jackson's been absolutely phenomenal in stepping up, and he's just been flying all over the place. So I'll be curious if the Broncos assign a spy throughout the game to kind of keep Lamar Jackson contained. But that's going to be an interesting aspect. This is going to be the best quarterback easily the Broncos have seen so far this year. And so how they handle that is going to be interesting for sure. Steve, thanks for joining us. Can we please score in the red zone? Exactly something I addressed a little bit ago. Continuing woes in the red zone. Overall, getting better, I would say. I think if you compare where we are this year compared to, a couple years ago, much better. However, again, we left between having to settle for a field goal and turn it over on the 2-yard line with, those 2 red zone trips where we were goal to go. We left 11 points off the board, between the 4 points we would have gotten with the touchdown. And then if we had gotten a touchdown with a fumble, that's 11 points right there. And that could be a difference against the teams, like the Ravens, like the Chiefs when we play them, because the Chiefs are going to be a very strong team still, even though they're last place. Anyone in the AFC West right now, honestly, it's going to be a dogfight from what it's looking like. Again, the Raiders 3-0, Broncos 3-0, Chargers are a strong looking 2-1 team. And we all know that the Chiefs are not going to finish this year with a losing record. So it's going to be a challenge, and the Broncos need to find a way to take advantage of those opportunities. You get all the way down the field, you get all the way to this 2-yard line, find a way to get that ball in. Those points are very crucial, especially as we come down to this very crucial stretch of the schedule. Steve, you say we have played 3 preseason games now the season starts. Yes and no. Fortunately, these games actually do count for our record versus preseason games that have absolutely no bearing. But you're right. I think it's beneficial for the Broncos for a few reasons. I think, it gave Teddy Bridgewater a chance to really settle in, really get to know this playbook. And I think he's been absolutely phenomenal. I think it gave the defense a chance to, really reset and, had that new secondary come in, all of that. And I think it's, a few games where they've gotten their confidence up and they've been absolutely outstanding. The other issue that I would say we need to work through, and I'm curious how it plays out over the next few weeks, is our run game. Our run game has not been spectacular. We've got 2 back splitting reps, 50-50 basically, and they both have very kind of numbers. Melvin Gordon did have that very large run that first week, but since then he's been very contained. So we'll see. That's another issue, that we might have to see coming down the stretch, how they respond. How come there wasn't a halftime show on Sunday? I love tuning in at halftime. I believe there was. We have been having, I believe, some Facebook issues through our connection. So definitely keep tuning in. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we love that feedback that you enjoy our halftime show, where you're not having to deal with commercials and having to watch clips from other games that have nothing to do with the Broncos, and where they talk about the current Broncos game for a solid 30 seconds throughout the entire halftime. So please keep tuning in. We'll make sure that we get it out this week, and that everyone's able to watch it for sure, because we enjoy having you guys. That's kind of the point of all of the shows we do. Really, really enjoy your guys' interactions. We enjoy interacting with you. It's a show by the fans for the fans. And so the more interactions we get, the more fun it is for us. So please keep tuning in. And on top of that, don't forget, on top of the halftime show, we've got pre-game show. We've got podcasts coming at you. We've got, obviously, Orange Weekly After Dark, which is our Monday night show, which is probably going to move, as you noticed tonight, more to 9:30 following Monday Night Football games. We've got our main show Tuesday night, 7 p.m. All kinds of content coming at you. So be sure to be tuning in throughout the entire week. We've got all kinds of stuff heading your way. What is my thoughts on winning on Sunday? Travis, I'm assuming since you posted your prediction 28-27 for the Broncos, that you're asking me what my thoughts are for this upcoming Sunday. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I have no problem talking more about this past game against the Jets. But I think it's going to be a challenge. I think, I agree with you in your prediction that it's going to be an extremely close game, especially if our defense continues to play the way that they have been. Solid coverage from our secondary, pass rush, a good, pretty solid run defense for the most part. So we'll see. It's going to be, again, this is going to be a good test. It's going to be a good measuring stick to see where exactly our team lines up. It's hard to see how exactly your team is when you play the teams that we have played so far. But the Ravens are a legit team. Obviously, they beat the Chiefs, which is no joke. So obviously they're a solid team. They did escape with a win against Detroit with a record-setting field goal of 66 yards to win the game, bounced off the crossbar and in. So they're coming off that. I didn't watch their game, but assuming that it came that close to the Lions, they didn't have their best game. And so I'm assuming that, they're going to come at us with everything that they have for sure. They're not going to take us lightly. That's absolutely for sure. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a tough game. I think some keys, obviously containing Lamar Jackson. He's going to want to run the ball. They love the run options. So we'll see how, versus the Chiefs where they like the run pass option. The Ravens utilize their strength of run option. So we'll see how the Broncos adjust to that type of offense that they haven't really seen this year. I think another key is actually going to be able to take advantage of our red zone trips and get the ball into the end zone, not settling for field goals and certainly not turning over the ball in the red zone, which we have done twice this season. And again, the thing that I think we're going to keep harping on until there's significant improvement is special teams and how much the special teams might have a factor in the outcome of this game. Anything from field position, which is going to be very crucial in this game, to we know that the Ravens have a heck of a kicker, not only in leg, again, kicked a 66-yard field goal, not at altitude, mind you, but also he's clutch. Tucker is a guy that they turn to. I think I saw the last 50 kicks he's had that were either to tie it or win it at the end of the game, something like that. He's made all 50, something crazy like that. So pressure doesn't get to him. So special teams is going to be absolutely key. And hey, Shane, right back at you. We here at Orange Weekly love all of our fans. Shadow, thanks for joining us. Are you shocked by the lack of attention for the Broncos by sports media? Yes and no. I think that there's been all kinds of interesting storylines this year that might be to the outside Broncos world might be more quote unquote exciting. You've got the storyline of all the rookie quarterbacks, and especially how bad they're all doing. And hey, negativity draws attention, right? So they're gonna focus on how poorly the rookie quarterbacks across the league are doing. You got the Chiefs who are 1-2. That's a pretty big storyline, right? They were Super Bowl favorites heading into this year. We're expected to be 3-0 already. Now they're 1-2. So, you got that storyline. You've got all the quarterback shifting that happened this offseason. So, you got Stafford with the Rams who are absolutely crushing it. So that's an interesting storyline. So, I think to that degree, you've got the Broncos who, they're 3-0. But again, what we keep hearing is, well, they've played teams who have yet to win a game. And so that's the easy storyline right now, right? So I wouldn't say I'm shocked by the lack of attention for the Broncos at this point. I would say, depending on how this next stretch of our next 4 or 5 games go, that could change, right? I think that if we beat the Ravens, it's going to turn some heads. I absolutely think it's going to turn some heads. We're going to start garnishing some of that attention. And then, moving on from there, we got the Raiders coming up. Other big teams that are going to be challenged to beat. Browns coming into town, all of that stuff. Or I think we're at the Browns. Redskins, Dallas is coming up, and Dallas just had a big time win. I think that if we take care of business this next stretch, we're going to start getting a lot more of that attention for sure. And, right now I'm okay with the little attention, right? I think this team right now is thriving in kind of the underdog role, even though they've been favorites. But they came into the season with some very low expectations from a lot of people. And I think right now they're just thriving off that, right? They're having a good time. Teddy Bridgewater looks cool, calm, collected. He's having a fun time. So I think our defense right now, especially, is having a great time. So, again, I would expect to see if we beat the Ravens, that storyline is going to change a little bit, and people might start talking about the Broncos, not just a bit more, but a bit differently than we're used to compared to the past few seasons. Stevie said, if we keep Lamar under 100 yards rushing, we have a chance. Yeah, absolutely. If Lamar gets over 100 yards rushing, it's going to be tough to win that game. When Lamar is rushing that well and they're playing that read option that well, it equates to long drives, takes a lot of time off the clock, really wears down the defense for sure. So, our team is absolutely going to have to find a way to keep Lamar Jackson under wraps. That'll absolutely be key. Travis, do you remember the last time we played the Ravens? When was the last time we played the Ravens? The two big ones that come to mind that I think will stick with Broncos memory for a while is, Manning's 7 touchdown performance to open up the season, but also that heartbreaking overtime loss to the Ravens in the playoffs. That was a tough one for sure. The Broncos had an outstanding team that year. With that heartbreaking last second touchdown that the Ravens got to tie the game. I'm not sure if that was the last time. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the last time that comes to mind. I think, again, it's just because of how heartbreaking that game was. And Travis, you're saying, yeah, that was a tough one. I thought for sure the Broncos were winning the Super Bowl that year. I think a lot of people did. And just a stupid defensive play to let the Ravens tie it up at the end of the game was what ultimately, again, led to overtime, where we couldn't get the job done in overtime. Don't go for the interception at the end of the game when you're up by a touchdown. Just, there's no need for that. Tough lesson for him to learn for sure, but here we are years later, revamped teams, quite a bit of a different season outlook and all of that for both teams as well. So Steve, going back to the less amount of tension, the better off we are under the radar. I agree with that. Steve, wasn't the year after they won the Super Bowl, might have been the last time they played the Ravens. I would have to do a history lesson. I to be honest with you, sometimes I can't keep all of it straight. All the years we played different teams and the outcomes and all of that. I'll blame it on my history of concussions that I have myself. For not having that good of a memory. So you have to forgive me. And tell you what, I'll even, I'll keep it under wraps within the Orange Weekly staff. Bring that question to tomorrow night's show at 7 p.m. Mountain Time and ask all of them and see if any of them remember off the top of their head. It'll be interesting. Could spur some interesting conversation as well. I'm sure the game that I was talking about will absolutely come to conversation again. But definitely bring that question, Travis. We hope to see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Be sure to ask that group that question. All right, guys, we're going to start wrapping up a little bit here. Keep posting questions, comments, concerns. Here it is. At the end of the day, Broncos 3-0. Again, exactly where they should be, but a lot of encouraging signs for how the season could shape up. Von Miller has been absolutely outstanding, already 4 sacks on the season, and is just creating disruption and havoc in the backfield. Even this place he doesn't get a sack, he's causing disruption, which is great to see. Our defense playing very well. Obviously, anytime you get a shutout in the NFL is a big accomplishment. We were playing the Jets, but who cares? Jets weren't shut out the previous 2 weeks they played. Again, it is very challenging to get a shutout in the NFL. And so the fact that our defense was able to, with the help of 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, our defense is playing very confident right now, which is outstanding to see. Teddy Bridgewater, 3 weeks in a row now, where he is just played very, very well, very accurate with the balls he's throwing, very safe in the sense that he's not putting balls where it could be intercepted. Just great management throughout the game. Runs the ball when he has to, and when he sees that opening. He's willing to take some hits. Wish he wasn't at some points. Wish he was willing to, take a slide here and there. But that just shows you how competitive he is and how much he's willing to help this team win any way he can. And 0 interceptions through 3 weeks is absolutely fantastic. Completion rate over 75% 3 weeks in a row, I believe now too. He's playing outstanding, and again, just further solidifying the decision to go with him was absolutely unequivocally the right answer. Sorry, Drew Lock, but I do not believe in any way, shape, or form if he had been our starter, that he would have 0 interceptions through this first 3 weeks. So Bridgewater, hey, you're impressive. The throws he can make, and again, just his vision on the field right now. He's playing with a lot of confidence, which is great to see. So before we sign off, obviously, again, I'm happy we can do this 3 weeks in a row. I cannot remember the last time we were able to do this 3 weeks in a row, but anytime the Broncos get a win, we get to do the fun segment on Orange Weekly After Dark of awarding our Mile High salutes to. So post your comments on who you would give your Mile High salute to. And we will get to that for sure. I'll definitely highlight who your pick is for the Mile High Salute Award of the week. It's a tough one for me, to be honest, because I think there were a lot of, again, just great plays, great decisions. But you know what? Although I don't normally go this route, the one that comes to mind, I'm giving my Mile High salute to KJ Hamler. Tough injury to see. It was so bad they didn't even show a replay. So I had to really try to find any kind of look I had to see what exactly was going on. Again, I was hoping, along with what sounds like the team, was hoping for just an LCL injury to the outside of the knee. Unfortunately, it was an ACL. But you know what? It's going to be a tough recovery for him, especially anytime a receiver has multi-ligaments involved. It's a tough recovery for sure to try to get back to the stage that he was at, especially with, the speed he was able to use that really separated him for his game. So it's going to be a long road for recovery for him. Hope to see him at the start of next season. But the process starts now for sure. It's going to be a lot of hard days for him, ups and downs. But I was really enjoying the way he was playing, the role he was playing. He embraced that role and was absolutely just, blowing by receivers blowing by defenders to get some open chances for sure. So, you know what? My high salute goes to KJ Hamler. Best wishes to him for a speedy and great recovery, so we can see him with that speed next season. So that's it for me tonight, guys. I'm signing off, but again, be sure to tune in for the rest of the week. Travis, you have a great night as well. Again, lots of content coming at you throughout the rest of the week. Please give us a like, give us a share. The more fans that join us for these shows, the more fun it is for all of us, for sure. We enjoy the interactions. We enjoy the engagement. So by all means, continue to share our pages. Make sure you're following us on all our social medias. We've got a Twitter. We've got an Instagram, obviously a Facebook, YouTube, all that great stuff. So if you aren't following us on all of our stuff, be sure to. Absolutely. So with that, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the content coming at you from Orange Weekly. That's it for me tonight. And as always, go Broncos.